So things like XML offer stronger typing of data, but maybe actually the problem is less to do with how we structure the data, HTML or XML, more to do with the fact that maybe we need a geographic browser alongside that as well. Our solution to this problem is KML. KML, think of it as HTML but for geographic data, a way of referencing and linking to existing data that may exist somewhere else in the network, or very simple ways of representing information. Both how that information is represented and how it might be viewed using a browser. And we're very happy that this is becoming a standard. At the moment, if I hadn't been here, I would have been in Colorado at the AGC technical committee meeting where we're going through the process of making KML an AGC standard. We handed over KML to the AGC community. By early next year, it will be a standard. Now that's important because when you combine things like KML and these organizations you see here publishing and helping people to publish their data in KML, you can start to do some quite interesting things in terms of searching for information truly geographically. Here's an example. Here in Google Earth, I've typed in as a search term, Concord near London. So find me Concord near the place London. But I haven't had to specifically write an SQL statement that says, select where aircraft name equals open quotation marks, Concord close quotation marks, where, and then some extended SQL statement. Behind the scenes, the browser is both understanding the context of that search term, but more importantly, it's going off and searching for data based upon the semantic content of the data and its location whether it's explicit or not. So what came back in terms of that info bubble locating one of the preserved Concords at Heathrow Airport, the information there was just a picture, a file saying Concord. It's no mention of London, but London is implied by its geographic location. And this is a way of, as I said earlier on, using geography to search and organize other information. Another part, clearly, of search and published data is changing business processes. And this, is the more difficult one. From a technical point of view, we can get some geeks together in a room and we can largely work these things out. It's more difficult to change business processes because there are more people to influence and often it's more difficult. But a number of examples here of how things have changed. Business models need to change to be, more different types of business models to allow information to truly be published and shared. Things like, advertising supported. What we do is pretty much mostly supported by advertising, but by doing that, we've changed the way that people can access geographic information. And if we can do it, other organizations can do it, and other organizations can look at adopting other business models. Once upon a time, the only way that you could buy music was to go buy a CD, and that CD would have 12 tracks of music on it, and you might only like one or two of them, but that was it. Now, you choose the particular track that you want. If you think in terms of geographical data, we're still at the point where if you went into a record shop and said, I'd like to buy this one particular track by the Beatles, the record shop owner would say, no, sorry, we don't sell by individual track. Actually, you have to buy the whole back catalogue of the Beatles and come back in a year's time because we'll sell it to you again. And that's kind of where we're at. And you see, things are changing. The New York Times, up until yesterday, used to charge people access to read their articles online. They've given up on that. There's free access to that information now. These changes and the needs for them has been recognised by UK government. The Power of Information report that probably many of you have read is very important. I think it says a lot of very sensible things. Because sitting on the other side now, dealing with government can sometimes be a bit like this.
I want to report a wrongful arrest.
We want information adjustments, different departments.
I've been to information adjustments. They sent me here. They said you have a form I need to fill out.
You got an arrest receipt?
Yeah.
Is it stamped?
Stamped?
No, there's no stamp on it, you see. I can't let you have the form until this is stamped.
Where do I get it stamped?
Information adjustments.
about government IT projects, but let's move on. The other part of the equation is democratizing the tools of production, making it easier for people to create their own information, and doing it in quite radical ways now. You probably all see now that the latest TomTom devices will capture data that they don't know about as you're driving around. And then when you sync the device again, connect it to the internet, it uploads that data back to the central computers that they use, and it therefore updates the data. So people using the product are creating and updating the information themselves. You're all familiar with things like OpenStreetMap. The African equivalent of that, Tracks for Africa, is capturing data in Africa by people just driving around in their pickup trucks with GPS equipment, and then using the internet to bring that information together and collaboratively edit it. Remember Chris Anderson, the guy who developed the long tail idea? That's him and his son with a model aircraft that they're developing that's got a little camera in it, and he's using it to capture low-level aerial photography in real time using devices and technology that costs just a few £1,000s. So we're beginning to see now technology allowing organisations and individuals to create the information themselves. Here is a nice example. If you're ever in London, I really recommend Lou's Pie and Mash shop. I love pie and mash. If you never had pie and mash, you've really missed one of the great cuisines of London, long forgotten. But this information here about Lou's restaurant, he has put in himself. He created this, bypassing the Yellow Pages provider, bypassing the traditional ways of capturing this information, and has put that information into Google Maps himself, into the database. It can now be found by users globally, disintermediating the process. And it's not just point data about stores. This is the centre of Delhi, and all of the information you see displayed on there as vector data, roads, point information, we've captured ourselves at Google using some technology that we've developed because we couldn't get access to the information anywhere else. It's now possible to quite easily capture information, and people are aware of this. They understand the knowledge is there and it's possible. Probably many of you have heard about or saw a couple of weeks ago, Steve Fossett unfortunately went missing. It still hasn't been found. But because of the public awareness of the tools and the processes, there was this huge outpouring, we need to do something. And we had Richard Branson calling us saying, what can you do to help? I said, well, the imagery is a few years old, it's not likely to be on it, nevertheless. We got together, got organised, called in our contacts at GRI and Digital Globe and linked to the guys out of Amazon, and used some of Amazon's quite interesting technology called the mechanical turk, which allows you to use people to do repetitive tasks that a computer's not very good at. So in this case, the mechanical turk was used to use people to interpret imagery, up-to-date imagery of the area of Nevada where Steve Fossett may have crashed. And to say, look, we'll give you a little square of imagery. If you see anything on that, click this button. If you don't see anything, click this button, and then we'll display the next little snippet of information. So you're presented with these little 80-metre squares, and you work your way through. Now think about it. You're using there potentially thousands of people doing the same process, but they could equally be digitising building outlines or road centre lines or identifying street furniture. And you've got a workforce completely around the world. Now in this case, there was no payment involved, but usually the mechanical turk is involved and people get paid a penny or a cent for each activity. Let me finish off then really on the impact of public awareness. This is the station where I get the train into work, and there's a poster there that has an image of Barcelona. And often, this picture is actually quite hard to take because there's always someone standing in front of the poster looking at the image, really peering in at it. There's this huge awareness now by the public of the ability of geospatial data and how that information is presented and the tools and how those tools work. And it's a big number. There are 250 million people who have downloaded Google Earth. So if Google Earth was a country, i.e. the number of people added up, it would be the 4th largest country in the world.